My husband cheated on me with his coworker while I was saving for IVF. He spent our savings on gifts for her. I exposed him at a company event, humiliating him in front of everyone. After the divorce, I got the house and a large chunk of his money. His girlfriend dumped him because he was broke, and now he's begging to come back. So, this all happened about 6 months ago, and honestly, I still can't believe it's real. My 32F, now ex-husband, 35M, and I were married for 7 years. From the outside, we had the perfect life. Nice house, great jobs, a group of supportive friends. But, as you probably guessed, things weren't as perfect as they seemed. For years, I thought we were happy. We'd been through a lot together. Job changes, moving across the country, even dealing with infertility. I thought our bond was strong. He always came off as supportive, loving, and reliable. But looking back, there were subtle signs that something was off. Things really started to change about a year ago. He became distant, always on his phone, working late more often, and was generally less attentive. I chalked it up to stress. After all, he had just gotten promoted, and I figured that meant more responsibilities. When I asked him about it, he said the usual things like, "It's just work," or "I'm tired." I believed him. I didn't want to be that suspicious wife who jumped to conclusions. But then the small things started piling up. One time I found lipstick on the collar of one of his shirts. He said it was from a coworker who hugged him goodbye after a late meeting. He even laughed it off, saying, "What, you think I'm cheating or something?" With that innocent smile I used to love. I laughed too, thinking I was being paranoid. Fast forward to a few months ago. My best friend Anna came to me one evening. She looked more serious than I'd ever seen her. I knew something was up, and my heart sank before she even opened her mouth. "Please don't freak out, but I need to show you something," she said, pulling out her phone. There, right in front of me, was a picture of my husband with another woman. They were at a fancy restaurant, holding hands, and it wasn't just any random picture. This was from his Instagram story. He had blocked me from seeing it, but my best friend? He hadn't been careful enough. My blood ran cold. I felt like my heart was being ripped out of my chest. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The worst part was I recognized the woman, Jessica, one of his coworkers. He'd mentioned her in passing, saying they had to collaborate on some projects. I thought nothing of it at the time. But now, it all made sense. The late nights, the work trips, the distant behavior. I was furious. But more than that, I was hurt. 7 years? And this was how he repaid me? Anna begged me not to act rashly, but honestly, I was seeing red. I needed a plan, but I also wanted him to feel the betrayal and hurt he had caused me. So I decided to wait and gather more evidence. Over the next few weeks, I discreetly went through his phone, his emails, even the phone bills. And boy, did I find more than I bargained for. He had been cheating with Jessica for over a year. Not only that, but I found out he had also been spending our joint money on gifts and trips for her. All this time, while I was scraping together savings for IVF treatments, he was whining and dining another woman on my dime. I was livid, but I stayed quiet. I needed to make sure everything was lined up perfectly before I made my move. After consulting with a lawyer, I started working on my plan. I was going to make sure this was public and that he would never forget it. His company was hosting a huge event in the coming weeks, and Jessica would be there. I decided that was the moment. I showed up, dressed to the nines, and acted like everything was fine. Halfway through the night, I got on stage, tapped the mic, and calmly said, "I just want to congratulate my husband on his year-long affair with his coworker. I hope you both enjoy the lavish trips you took with our money while I was planning our future." The room went silent, and all eyes were on him. He went pale, and Jessica was absolutely mortified. They both tried to stammer excuses, but it was too late. I walked out, head held high, and immediately filed for divorce the next morning. Now here's where it gets even better. The lawyer I had consulted with helped me get the upper hand. Since we had no prenup, I was entitled to half of everything. And since his affair and misusing of funds could be considered marital misconduct, I ended up getting even more. I took the house, a significant chunk of his retirement savings, and even some of his investments. He fought tooth and nail, but the evidence I had was irrefutable. In the end, He lost everything. He tried to reach out, begging for forgiveness, saying he made a mistake and wanted me back. But by then, I was done. I had been humiliated, betrayed, and manipulated. There was no coming back from that. Now, he's living in a small, run-down apartment, while I'm comfortably settled in our house. And as for Jessica, they didn't even last. Turns out, she was only in it for the money, and once that was gone, so was she. As for me, I'm finally free. I've taken time to heal, and I'm focusing on myself for the first time in years. It wasn't easy, but I'm glad I made the choices I did. Looking back, I don't regret a single thing. So, Reddit AITA for publicly exposing my cheating husband and taking everything he had. I work at a restaurant where a church group comes every day. I found that they had been praying for me to break up so that one of the members' son can propose me. I kicked them out of the restaurant. AITA. So I, 21F, work at a small restaurant filled with locals and church groups who frequent the restaurant quite often. For context, I'm in a relationship with someone I met at the restaurant, and most of the people here know that. On to the story. This afternoon, I had a church group of 8 come in. I know them all by name. 2 in particular are Josh and his son Adam, who wasn't in attendance today. Everything is going fine, normal conversation is flowing, and at the end they ask me to join hands with them in prayer. I don't practice any religion, but for my customers, I bow my head in respect, let them say their prayer, and finish off with an amen. That didn't happen today. Josh started the prayer, and as we near the end, I feel him squeeze my hand a little and say, "And Jesus, we ask you to free this beautiful young lady from her ties to another man for my boy Adam. I know in my heart and with you that they are meant to be together but don't want it to happen in sin. Again, I ask you to please free this woman from her." I stopped listening at this point, pulled my hand away and left the table. I got Adam's number from a mutual friend of ours and called him to ask WTF his group was on about. He was very apologetic and told me that he had a crush on me way back when I first started to work at the restaurant, almost 2 years ago at this point. That is long gone, as he knew we had different beliefs, along with wanting to still come to the restaurant without any awkward tension. Apparently, his dad took this little crush and effing ran with it. He told me at church that his group prays about this all the time, and that he doesn't attend as much because of it, along with the fact that their preacher even mentioned it a couple times during group prayer. I guess he called his dad because he came up to me and berated me for interrupting his prayer and for calling Adam to tell on him. I told him his prayer made me very uncomfortable, as I'm secure in my relationship and will never step out in favor of Adam. I said, "I don't know what you think praying about it will do, but no form of any God would ask me to leave my partner in your favor to make you, and only you, happy. You and anyone else actively participating in your fucked up fantasy can leave." So they did. Our owner knows these people well and also attends the same church, so obviously she heard about it. She told me that she knows I have different beliefs but not to talk to people that way in the restaurant, as it's a bad look on her as well. I apologized for the hurtful words I used, but I will not let anyone think that praying for me to leave my partner will work, nor will I stand being directly disrespected in a group of people like that. AITA,